Hey there YouTube, and welcome to another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Did You Know? At the request of JustWanderedToSay, today I will be covering the Fabled archetype, but since there are over 20 monsters, I will only be covering those Fabled monsters that most commonly make deck appearances. Initially dubbed Demon Roar Gods, the Fabled are light-attributed monsters despite their dark appearances. This change is rather acceptable when you consider that most of the Fabled monster archetype is inspired by fallen angels. However, acknowledging the fact that a good handful of fabled monsters are inspired by Abrahamic Christianity, not all of the fabled are based off of fallen angels. Some are inspired by Hindu, Greek, Japanese, and Latin American mythologies. Now, without further ado, here's Fabled Grimro. Fabled Grimro is inspired by the Grimoire, or a magical textbook of instructions directing the reader as to how they may create magical items, perform magical spells, and summon supernatural entities. Thus were considered satanic because of the devastating potential they possessed. But a book of conjuring is useless without a conjurer. Pictured as a dark angel carrying an arcane book, Fabled Kusano represents the magician-like reader of the grimoire. Said to be competent in the arts of ceremonial and high magic, magicians were frequently persecuted by Christian churches during the Middle Ages of Europe. Owning a grimoire was dangerous, so many hid their books to avoid being burned at the stake. Pictured as a mourning girl with her wings conveniently outstretched, Fabled Cruz is inspired by none other than the crucifix itself. However, because crucifixion was more of a method of torture used to slowly kill someone, I'm surprised why Cruz doesn't have a popping effect. No, instead Cruz has a resurrection effect, which is an appropriate alternative. Pictured as a chicken with a dragon-like tail and wings, the Fabled Cockator is inspired by the mythical beast the Cockatrice. Essentially, the Cockatrice is a two-legged dragon with a rooster head and possesses petrifying abilities much like the power of a basilisk. However, much like the Medusa head, it was believed that a severed Cockatrice's head was still able to petrify. Synonymous with being any large sea-dwelling monster, Fabled Leviathan takes after Envy, one of 7 princes in hell according to Christian myth. However, in the Satanic Bible, Leviathan is one of 4 crown princes and represents the element of water. In most myths, Leviathan is a female sea monster, contrasting her male counterpart of the land, named Behemoth, and the air monster, named Ziz. Fabled Raijin is inspired by a demon entity in which Jesus confronts. Stemming from Christianity, this story tells of an account Jesus had with a man possessed by multiple demons. In short, the demons possessing the man acknowledge the holiness of Jesus and beg him not to torture them. After a few words are exchanged, Jesus asks the name of the demon, for which the response is, "My name is Legion, for we are many." At first you would think that the fabled Unicore is inspired by the mythical beast said to poop rainbows and fart butterflies, but in actuality Unicore is inspired by the fallen angel Amducius. Gifted in music, Amducius is represented as a human-like unicorn who usually carries trumpets as his instrument of choice. Amducius was believed to conduct music that could bend anyone's will. Now, Fabled Raven was a bit trickier to research, considering that even now I'm unsure as to who or what really inspired him. However, Raven is most likely inspired by the fallen angel Andas, who is a man with a raven or owl-like head. Responsible for sowing discord, Andas is also believed to be one of the deadliest supernatural entities a magician may summon from his grimoire, as Andas is known for killing the person who summoned him if they are not careful. The fabled Catsith is inspired by the Celtic fairy known as the Cat She. Pictured as a black cat with a white patch of fur on its chest, the Cat She is a spectral cat that haunts the Scottish Highlands. However, other stories argue that the Cat She isn't a fairy at all, but a witch that can transform into a cat 9 times. Moving on to the Japanese inspiration of the fabled archetype, the fabled Kudabi is inspired by none other than the Codon. The Codon is a demon who is first birthed into this world by the womb of a female cow. However, this creature has the face of a human and the body of a calf. Within 3 days, this creature will die, but not without telling you all of life's misfortunes that will come your way. Acting as the Hindu inspiration of the fabled archetype, the fabled Rubiruda is inspired by the Garuda, or the large mythical bird-like mount of the Lord Vishnu. Also called Suparna, which means well-winged, the size of the Garuda is unknown, however it is said that a wing beat may stir a great hurricane. Pictured as a creature with an elephant head, the fabled Ganesha is inspired by the widely worshipped deity of the Hindu pantheon named Ganesha. Revered as a remover of obstacles and acknowledged as a god of beginnings, Ganesha's origin is unclear. However, in some stories, Ganesha was believed to come into power when he came into contact with the Vinyakas, or troublesome demons who created various types of evils, obstacles, and difficulties. The fabled Sobral is inspired by the Greek mythological beast Cerberus. Depicted as a monstrous canine with several heads, usually 3, Cerberus was charged with the duty of ensuring no souls left the underworld, and no mortal souls got in. Just like the fabled Sobral, the fabled Pegasus was inspired by Greek mythology, but where Cerberus hindered mythological heroes, Pegasus did not. Acting as the inspiration for the fabled Pegasus, this monster is inspired by the mythological beast Pegasus, usually depicted as a white stallion with wings. Pegasus made several appearances in numerous mythologies, usually helping the hero in question. If you grew up watching Pokemon, you might have not known that Dunsparce was inspired by a Japanese mythological beast. Backtracking to Japanese mythology, the fabled Mizuchi is inspired by the Tsuchinoko, or the legendary snake-like creature whose central girth is much wider than its head or its tail, and whose fangs and venom are similar to that of a viper's. Tsuchinokos were believed to have the ability to speak, but frequently told lies. It was also believed that Tsuchinokos also had a great addiction to alcohol. At last we have the fabled Chawa, inspired by the Chihuahua. I couldn't find much about mythologies concerning the tiny dog. However, I turned to Yu-Gi-Oh wiki pages and found it interesting that the Mayan and Aztec civilizations believed that Chihuahuas were thought to be the gatekeepers of the underworld, although I'm unsure where they found that bit. And that concludes our Yu-Gi-Oh! Did You Know? Featuring the Fabled. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if there's any archetype you're interested in learning about, please leave them in the comments below. Until next time, AMG out.